I'm trying to take people's advice. That's one of them. Anyways, today is going to be a quick, simple Teacher Tuesday. I will have the question of the video next. I just wanted to let you know what the Teacher Tuesday is going to be about today. It's going to be about how students are disrespectful without knowing that they're disrespectful, and then how to manage disrespectful students. It's going to be summing those up in 4 things that students do that are disrespectful, but they don't really know that they're disrespectful, so you can't really blame them for the disrespect, and then how to manage that disrespect. But first, let's go ahead and start that question of the video. All right, listen, Linda's question of the video is, what is 3 1/3 minus 1 3/4 in parentheses divided by 4 minus 1 1/6 in parentheses? Ready and go. I'm going to talk about students that are disrespectful, but they really, I believe, don't know that they're being disrespectful. And sometimes you have to address it because they just honestly don't know. So the first thing that I believe that they do that is disrespectful, but they just don't know, is trying to control the class. So I don't let anybody in my class tell somebody else what to do. I feel like that is my job to let them know my expectations of the class. So when a student, say you're having a good class and everything's going, but there's some chattering here and there, and you're controlling it, you're handling it the best way that you can, but a student from across the room decides to say, "Stop talking." Now I understand. They're trying to help me out. Students are actually very helpful. You give them a job and they definitely would do it. Or they're in line and there's some talking in the back of the line, and a student from the front of the line decides to go, "Shh." Disrespectful. It's not only disrespectful the way that they're saying it to their peers, but it's also, I feel like it's disrespectful to me because they sometimes say it in a way that it's like mocking me. Like if I'm like, "You guys should be silent," and then they're like, "Yeah, you're supposed to be silent." That doesn't help. And I feel like sometimes they actually think that they're trying to help. So that is one way that they are being disrespectful without knowing that they're disrespectful. So just addressing that situation definitely would help. Number two, is saying yes ma'am or yes sir at the wrong time. This one is a pet peeve. So what? It's a pet peeve. So saying yes ma'am or yes sir at the wrong time. So if I'm like being very serious and I don't need a response, and I'm maybe giving a little bit of a lecture talking about how there was so much talking and how so many people were blurting out. It's like, so we know we're not supposed to talk, right guys? That's what we're not supposed to do. And someone just yells, "Yes ma'am!" Breathe in and then breathe out. That's what I have to do because it's a pet peeve. And I feel like it's a little bit disrespectful because as 6th grade, they know when it's the right time. Maybe they don't, and that's why, of course, I'm voicing this. I'm letting you know. Saying yes ma'am and yes sir at the right time in the right tone of voice is important. It's what? It's important. Another one I have is their sarcasm. Sometimes they don't even know the definition of sarcasm or being sarcastic, but they definitely use it daily. So sarcasm, saying things that they're saying it because their voice is saying it, it's coming out of their mouth, but they're not saying it because they really want to say it. So sarcasm is to hurt someone or to say something harshly. And so when they use it, sometimes I think it just comes out and then they rethink and you're like, "Did you know that you were being disrespectful?" So I love that line. Did you know that you were being disrespectful? And sometimes they're just like, no, and sometimes they're like, no, being sarcastic. But sometimes they really don't know. And I think being sarcastic is one of those that sometimes they honestly don't know. And so just pointing that out, "Hey, I feel like that was very sarcastic." And they'll be like, "Oh, well, I didn't mean it that," or they'll kind of, you'll know when they really did mean it. They'll be like, "Well, duh, that's sarcastic." They won't say that, but their facial expressions will show it. And then the last one I have is pointing out personal matters in class. Not personal matters, nobody really knows my personal life. I'm a teacher, I keep it teacher, student based, but stuff like, okay, so I dyed my hair over the weekend and they're raising their hand. Did you dye your hair? Yes. It's kind of rude to me, just because like it makes it awkward, it makes it uncomfortable. Like, ask me that in the hallway, not in the middle of me teaching what mass movement is. Right. Got it? All right. So there are ways that teachers can deal with students being disrespectful and sometimes not knowing that they're disrespectful. Move past it. Don't sit there. So if I felt like somebody raised their hand, hey, Miss Rosenberg, did you dye your hair over the weekend? In the middle of my mass movement lesson, I would simply just move on. Don't really ignore it. Just talk about it later. They got an answer. I moved on. It doesn't make it that awkward situation, because then I'm gonna be, if I answer them, I'd be like, yeah, I got highlights in my hair, girl. I'm gonna go on about my life. I got it on Saturday at this time, and that's blah, 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 blah. Just a yes answer to them isn't going to be a good enough answer. So they'll want more information, so talk about it later. And you don't even have to answer them later if you don't want to talk about it, but just don't let them know that in the middle of your mass movement lesson. Like, why are you asking that? Just opens up this whole big conversation that you just don't want to do. I promise. So move on, move past it. Give them a little short answer, move past it. After that, you should, if it's something that was very disrespectful, so like the dyeing my hair thing, I could have just talked to them in the hallway. But if it was something that was disrespectful, you want to move past it, but you don't want to let them continue to have that disrespect, because like I said, sometimes these students just don't know that they're disrespectful. So pull them aside later on. Take them into the hallway later on, see them in the hallway. Let them know that you believe that that was disrespectful. So the sarcasm and the trying to control the class and trying to control their friends and saying the yes ma'am and no sir at the wrong time. Pull them aside later on. Don't say it in the middle of the class. Pull them aside later on. Let them know, hey, I felt like that was disrespectful. I felt like that was the wrong time. Do you feel this way? And if you don't, I'm letting you know that it does make me feel that way, so can you please not do that, because it was disrespectful. Now, if it continues to happen, then of course, you gotta write them up, you gotta do what you have to do, but let them know, have that one-on-one conversation that, hey, I felt like this was disrespectful this time. Also making that connection with your students, that is so very, very important. I say this all the time. Another technique that I like to use, and it's because I avoid confrontation. Confrontation gives me anxiety. With students, with adults, I just avoid confrontation, right? If I feel like it's going to be a problem, then I want to walk away. I want to immediately get out of this situation. So avoiding confrontation is definitely important, especially in front of a group of students, right? You don't want to have confrontation one-on-one with somebody in front of a group of students or in front of the class. So what I do is I pause. So let's go back to the yes ma'am, yes sir. If I'm voicing something and it is the wrong time to respond and they just blurt out, yes ma'am, like it is a funny situation, I'll just pause. And I'll look at them, and I'll look at the rest of the class, and I'll just pause. And it's kind of letting them know, hey, that was rude. And sometimes that's all they need, because I've sometimes used that technique where I'll just pause, and they will come in passing break and lunch or at lunch and apologize. And I will literally just pause. And it's just like that. And they'll come back and apologize, or I get long letters that say, I'm really, really sorry. I feel like I was being disrespectful, and they can catch on with just a pause. Avoids confrontation, avoids even having to pull them out aside, because they know sometimes what they are doing. So given alternatives, saying yes ma'am, no sir, sometimes they don't know when to say it and they don't know the right time. And so pulling them aside and letting them know, hey, that was the wrong time. That wasn't a very good time to say that. But next time, since maybe you don't know when a good time is, just nod. Just nod. Sometimes I even tell my kids, just nod and smile. Sometimes that's all. Nod and smile. Now, if it's a serious, don't smile, just nod. But if it's not that serious, you just really don't know how to respond, nod and smile. very good technique. So give them that alternative, just nod, right? If you're trying to ask personal questions in the middle of class, just, you know, I really like your questions. Can you just wait until I'm not teaching? Alternative, right? Another very, very good technique that I use for disrespect is when you are pulling them aside, or you are moving on, or you're avoiding that confrontation, or you're making that pause, is remind them that they do know. So I have a group of students, and they are it is such a good class. We have had good times, so many good times. But there are those times that it is hard, right? People get tired, students get tired. It was a hard weekend. We just had a snow day. Like, that's a lot to go on. And so remind them, hey, you've had good classes. You know when to ask those questions. You know when to say yes, ma'am, no, sir. You know how to be sarcastic and when to be sarcastic and when not to be sarcastic. And I know that you know that because I've watched you do it. And sometimes reminding them gives them that confident boost. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. I do know. And all they need sometimes is a confirmation that, hey, I am a good student. I know what I'm doing. I did this on purpose and I was disrespectful, and I know how to not be disrespectful. And so those are my techniques. Move on. Move past the situation. Give them a little bit of an answer and move on. Pull them aside after class. Avoid confrontation. Pause. Give alternatives and remind them that they are good students. They are a good class. They've had good actions before. I've learned this throughout my teaching. I've had different situations that have had to make me learn these different techniques about how to handle disrespect and how to handle disrespect when your students don't know that they're being disrespectful. Disrespect at their house or disrespect in the community can be way different than disrespect in the classroom. And so letting them know that it's okay not to know, but I'm here to teach you how to be respectful is definitely key to being a teacher. And that's pretty much all I had today. It was just a quick, video. I'm gonna start doing skits. I just need more ideas. As the year goes, I'm sure I'll get more ideas in my little brain of mine. Hold on tight. If you are a loyal subscriber, I am glad you're here watching. And if you're not and you're new to the channel, I don't know why my camera just turned pinkish, but if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I am so happy because I started Friday with 253 subscribers, right? Remember my lot of clout. And then come Sunday, I had 266 subscribers. So I am moving on up very slowly, but any progress to the top is progress, right? So help me hit that subscribe button, watch my videos, hit that like button. If you're not part of Nodi's squad, just join the squad. You know you want to. And I hope you guys have a great week. Happy Teacher Tuesday. Bye.